Good morning, Grinders. Hey, welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender Ed, a.k.a. Blender HD, a.k.a. Hopefully on top of you in some contests last night. Well, I probably wasn't last night. It probably was not last night based on my exposures. But that's what we're going to be going over. So this is what we do on this show, on the pregame show. We spend about half the time going over yesterday's slate, seeing exposures, seeing strategies, learning from our mistakes, learning from other better players, right? Because that's how you study. This is what I do. This is what I do in the morning anyway. So you're just watching my process regardless. And then we'll head into today's slate, take a look what we got. I know it's an 8-game slate. See what preliminary projections have, preliminary ownership, strategies that you can employ. Obviously, it's early. It's 11 in the morning Eastern time. Things can change. I mean, we saw it yesterday. I mean, yesterday's slate was just a we thought they'd be value city, right, with the Harden and Westbrook out, and then what ends up happening is that Capella gets ruled out, and then Harden becomes questionable again. Then it's like, okay, well, I guess maybe Harden's playing, right, and then LaMarcus Aldridge gets ruled out. So Aldridge is out, which upticks Jakob Poeltl, probably starting at center. And then you give a little bit more to DeRozan or Rudy Gay or something off the bench. And then we go through and then Harden's out. So it's like, okay, Harden and Capella's out. And like, it's just Eric Gordon and company you're going to play. And who knows what the rotation is. We think it's going to be Hartenstein and Clemens getting minutes off the bench. And they got minutes off the bench. They got 12 combined minutes off the bench because even against Rudy Gobert, they just ran the smallest lineup they could possibly figure out, and it worked. So what would they just continued rolling with that. So they put up a 35-year-old Thabo Sefolosha at center and ran Michael Frazier out of nowhere. And just he got 20 minutes for no reason. So everything that you expected out of the Rockets rotation went the complete opposite way, and it killed a lot of lineups yesterday. And it wasn't just here on RG, it was just across the industry in general. So looking at the ownership between, I pulled up the 222 slam, I pulled up the 425 the fadeaway, the $15 GPP, and the $1 GPP. And by the way, as always, before I mention it, I'm on my, I think this is my third cup of coffee. I've been up for a while. Devin has some Starbucks. Okay. So we're both having our coffee, but by the end of this show, because I'm talking so much, this coffee is going to be cold. So to make it up to me. You got to hit that like button, right? That little thumbs up button. So just that keeps the coffee hot. The more likes that we get keeps my coffee hot. So, by the end of the show, it's not just lukewarm. So do that for me, or subscribe to the channel if you're not already. But taking a look at the ownership difference, I want to highlight a couple of things. Because this is what I typically look for, because the 222 typically has more sharper players, I guess. And the $1 20 max, I mean, I can't play. I mean, a lot of the top high volume players can't play. So it tends to be a little weaker competition. So looking through, we can see like the Aldridge news, like Poeltl was arguably one of the best value plays on the slate, playing so many minutes and for 3,200. I mean, he was 64% owned in the 222, nearly 50% owned in the $15 GPP, but only 37% owned in the $1 20 max tournament, right? We take a look at this and we see that obviously Hartenstein, I mean, that was a dud at 72%. I mean, people played Hartenstein. All good players played Hartenstein. So it's not like, oh, you made the wrong move. He wasn't starting and maybe you shouldn't have. Yeah, maybe you should have lowered his expected minutes, but I don't think his expected minutes was 5. I mean, I saw some places the 20 to 25. At minimum price, if he would have gotten 20 minutes, if he would have gotten 15 to 20 minutes, he probably wouldn't have got there, but not in 5. Okay? So looking through, we had also Derrick Rose was ruled out late, right? About a half an hour before lock. So that catapulted Reggie Jackson or Bruce Brown, guys like that. Drummond got a little bit of a boost. But I mean, Drummond was going to be popular anyway. Then we also got the news that Chris Paul was out for personal reasons, obviously probably with the Kobe situation. So that catapulted Dennis Schroeder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And we see across the spectrum, most people reacted fairly evenly. But we also had Butler questionable heading into lock. Now he was ruled in a half an hour before, but if you notice that more of the people that were maybe didn't get the news that he's in, he's not questionable, he's not going to be a zero in your lineup or anything. He was only 15% owned in the $1.20 max, but he was 33% owned in the 222 slam. So you get through here, and you even look at Eric Gordon. I mean, he put up obviously a monster game, but he was about same owned regardless. I mean, at 6,900 on DraftKings, less of a play than on FanDuel where he was 4,400. You just plug that in. I also want to highlight the fact that even though Paul was ruled out, he was 1% owned in the 20 max $1, and even Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was 2.27% owned. So two players combined were 3%. I mean, like they pay part of the rake. I mean, we see in the low, look, Derrick Rose was nothing in the 222, right? Even Paul was actually owned by probably one lineup in the 222, 1% of lineups. I mean, these are dead lineups. I mean, they're automatic zeros. They're not playing. So it just highlights, as I usually do when I do these shows, that the softer competition and lower stakes take advantage of the news a little bit more. Be a little bit more cognizant of that. And that's why we have RG alerts. So if you have the RotoGrinders app or you follow the RotoGrinders NBA account on Twitter, you get the news when it happens, right? Beat writer reports it. It's a verified source. That alert goes out. It goes right to my phone. I don't have to wait. I don't have to wonder. I don't have to go, oh, is Harden playing today? Well, then I'll get an alert. I don't have to search for the news. We have a news alerts team here at RotoGrinders that does that for you. You don't have to worry about it. You'll be contacted when it happens. So get the RotoGrinders app, and you get that for free, right? You get the notifications for free. So download that and have fun with it. I also wanted to pull up exposures for 6 GPP players, all 150 maxers. And overall, I mean, I pulled up 3 main ones. I pulled up Petty Theft 89, our own Squirrel Patrol, and Mr. Good Seats. And they kind of represent a lot of what the sharper players did. I also pulled up 3 Vebwo, Cheddar Biscuit, and Dexter, who went much more contrarian builds. And I want to highlight that also. But across this, we saw Hartenstein with plenty of ownership. We saw Drummond with plenty of ownership. Jakob Poeltl was nearly a lock button in a lot of sharp players' lineups. Austin Rivers was fairly heavily owned. The stars and scrubs types of builds with Luka at point guard, that was extremely popular amongst good GPP players. We saw DeMar DeRozan's ownership pretty high. We saw Schroeder's to some extent. Yes, we saw. I mean, Clemens was a little under-owned, a little lower exposed for some of the sharper players, but most still had plenty, right? Thad Young was still owned. Butler was still owned. I mean, for the most part, I think that they represent most of the good GPP players, what they had exposure-wise. So, if you played Hartenstein and Clemens, tons of really good GPP players in their builds played Isaiah Hartenstein with his 4.75 points. So, don't consider, oh, you blew it. It's well, then everyone blew it then. But some people decided to get leverage. Okay? If you were making these types of builds, you had to find leverage somewhere because it was going to be pretty popular. The Poeltl Drummond type of build, Poeltl Drummond Luka type of build. You had to find leverage in some places. So some people went, a little bit heavier on PJ Tucker, Tyler Hero, off of Jimmy Butler. I mean, we saw Petty with Robert Covington, Nikola Vucevic. So it's not an absurd amount of leverage. But, I mean, if you decided on that construction, you had to find it somewhere. I personally played a lot of the middle range players. I played a lot of Bielitsa and Gallinari and Wiggins, who had a great game. I mean, but I still stayed with a fairly chalk construction, a Luka high price center, low price center, right? Because Hartenstein fit in the power forward, so you didn't have to fill a center slot with that. So I played a lot. I played very similarly to a lot of the better GPP players, and some of the better GPP players like Bevwo, Cheddar Biscuit, Dexter, they went very contrarian builds. So we take a look here. Bevwo went under on Pirtle, way under on Luka, under on DeMar DeRozan. Okay, went with more of the mid-range build. A lot of people were building stars and scrubs. He was going with a lot of Schroeder, a lot of Jimmy Butler, a lot of De'Aaron Fox, a lot of Donovan Mitchell, Danilo Gallinari, Rudy Gobert. Right in that mid, I mean, Gobert was 9,000, but he was barely. I mean, he was 12% owned. You take Porzingis. I mean, look, that makes sense, right? He has 2% Luka. If you're going to fade Luka, who benefits? If the Mavs do well and you fade Luka, probably Porzingis. Porzingis was 2% owned. He had 21% of them. Take a very high position. Vooch over the 3%, 5%. We see Joe Ingles even 10% exposed, 6% owned. And so you see, he was trying to make more, right? But still trying to make. Then we take a look at kind of similarly. Played a lot more Gordon because he was going to be under owned. I mean, because at 6,900, he was the highest price play. Of course, he went 10x, but he got his leverage by just playing Eric Gordon. So instead of playing Hartenstein, he played very little of them. Still played Pirtle, but still not as much as everyone else here. Still played a lot of Rivers. Still played a decent amount of Luka. Went under on DeRozan. Seemed like he went under on the Spurs in general. But still played, look, 44% Chris Clemens. Still played plenty. 47% Reggie Jackson. Got to fill that guard spot somewhere, right? If you're playing Rivers in the guard spot and then some other guard. But he also played 66% Towns. So he actually played less Drummond. He was half the field. If you say here, half the field on Drummond, but on Towns, he was nearly double. So that was his way of getting different. They're still playing a lot of the best plays, the consensus best plays, right? Projected best plays. But they're trying to find ways to get different in their lineups. And if you have any strategy questions or anything that you want to see, feel free to post in the YouTube chat. Going back into chat, I could. Devin already says that his coffee's cold. His coffee's cold, people. You got to hit that like button to get that warms up the coffee. Okay, we're sitting here doing this for you. It's a free show, right? Studying and stuff. It's in the morning. What else are we doing? The coffee's getting cold. It only warms up if you hit that like button. But yeah, Dan says a 73% owned bust. Right. If you got different on last night's slate and didn't play a stars and scrubs build, you probably did fairly well. You avoided some of the value chalk, the hardens. I mean, Pirtle did well. Okay. So we see Drummond was a snowflake at 50% owned. Right? Rivers did okay, right? He was fine. Luka was technically a snowflake at 38% owned. Towns was a snowflake at 32% owned. So I mean, like these guys, like Dexter, like he got Schroeder, Thad Young, Gilgeous Alexander, De'Aaron Fox, Daniel House, who had a great game. A lot of people were under on him. Like Score Patrol only had 1% House. So someone like Dexter didn't win the GPP. But looked and said, okay, where is the field going? How can I get different? I'm going to build more of these mid-range builds. Avoid some of these, the cheaper option, the value chalk, per se. But I mean, you also play like 18% Ingles, 12% Gordon. These are all mid-range plays. That was the way to go. You could do that, or you could do what a lot of the better players did, and went with the chalkier construction. Just find single or double leverage points. So you have 6 guys that are fairly chalky in your lineup, and then 1 or 2 that are under-owned, and you can win it that way. If the chalk goes off and your under-owned plays go off, you win. Vevwo, Cheddar Biscuit, Dexter on the other hand, went for essentially lineups that would win if the chalk failed, for the most part, but still played plenty of it, right? Still played plenty of it. Can I show the winning roster? If we have this updated, we can. Okay, here we go. Queen. Okay, we do have this update. So yeah, the winning roster. It was a single entry, just there you go, one entry. You could do it. Look, M takes 6 entries, Tyrus 13, 2 entries. As long as you're building a lineup that is good for a 33,000 person entry tournament, you could do it. Just build lineups based on that. I mean, we could see, like, it was to me, this was even like an over leveraged lineup, like playing Lyles over Pirtle was direct leverage, true. But I mean, based on the ownership of the rest of his lineup, like he actually could have destroyed this, because Pirtle scored like 40. So this score could have been 4-2. He could have won by 23 points by just playing Pirtle instead of Lyles. But look, he got a 6% owned Heald at 56 points. 13% owned Wiggins at 63 points. Bielitsa, 5% owned, 54 points, right? Looked like Sacramento, Minnesota, a 2-1 stat. Played Gordon and House. I mean, House was 3,900. He put up, 12x right there. That was his value. He still got the raw points from Luka. Luka didn't get his ceiling. I mean, he was expensive for 11.9, but all you needed was the raw points. So you can see here that there's nothing wrong with this lineup. The thing that's right, it's almost over leveraged. I don't even think you had to get this different on this slate. As long as you were fading Hartenstein, like, I don't think you needed to fade Pirtle also. I think they both had a good shot at getting there. But there you go. But I mean, like Chipotle Addict, I mean, his top lineup over here, and my mouse is kind of sticky. It's moving around all over the place. So let's, can we take a look at this? Yeah, here's one of Chipotle Addict's lineup. He came in 4th. So look, I mean, no one at single digit. But he got Schroeder, Wiggins, DeRozan. See, this is more of a mid-range build. Played Karl Anthony Towns, only got 39 points. Like, if Karl Anthony Towns puts up his median, if let's say Karl Anthony Towns in overtime puts up a 50-point score, he gets 11 more points and wins, right? Chipotle Addict wins this GPP with just a median performance out of Towns. Because he got Gordon, he got Rivers, he got Pirtle, he got House, he got DeRozan, Wiggins, like this is a much more balanced build. I mean, a little bit. I mean, he still is a little top heavy, but he got the leverage by playing Gordon on DraftKings. I mean, FanDuel, he was popular when Gordon on DraftKings wasn't. And obviously he has a ceiling. Do you think an OT game needed to happen for such a small slate? No, a lot of these people got here anyway. I mean, Heald had a Wiggins was like at 50 plus points regardless. Heald was at like 50 points regardless. I mean, yes, it gave him a little bit more, sure. But I mean, they got their Bielitsa. I mean, he was there beforehand, just extra. They got extra, a little bit extra. I don't think you needed them. But that's what we're looking for. So we see from yesterday that if you could avoid 72% owned minimum price guy that only put up 4 points, I mean, essentially busted so many lineups from win equity, not min cash equity, but just win equity, that if you had the cojones to do that, you had that much higher win equity than 72% of the field. But you have to have the willingness to do that. Even if you're playing one lineup, if you're playing 2-3 lineups, you have to be willing to do that if you're playing a GPP with 33,000 entries. So that's why, like, the difference between, well, if I'm only playing 1, if I'm only playing 3, if I'm only playing 5, that doesn't really matter. The contest that you're in matters. You could play 5 entries into this large field contest. Just build the 5 entries with enough leverage that it satisfies that type of contest. If you want to play a single entry 3 max, build lineups that satisfy a 2,000 entry contest, a 4,000 entry contest. Usually with the single entry 3 max, ownership gets even more condensed. We see that. The 222 is a smaller field contest, so we see more condensed ownership, easier to find leverage. But of course, you got a lot more sharper players in there. So I mean, even my like I went the same way that everyone else. Of course, I was going to try using entries manager that we have on lineup HQ. I was going to try to get Hartenstein out of more lineups that I had because I had 89%. But he was filling so many power forward slots that, like, I really had no obvious. I could get rid of like maybe 9% of this, and I just thought at that point it wasn't worth it. Because I game already started playing. Like I didn't have spots. Like I didn't have them that I could have changed out about 9 or 10% of my lineups. But once I saw that, I just said I'm just rolling with it. Just rolling with it. Yeah, people are asking how much Clemenstein did I have? Yeah, look, 89% Hartenstein. I had 35% Clemens. So somewhat in line with a lot of other sharp players. But I also had over the field of Karl Anthony Towns. I don't way over the field of Bruce Brown. I still have Danilo Gallinari, Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, Andrew Wiggins, Bielitsa, Bogdanovich, some Ingles, some Gordon. So yeah, I was trying to basically play the Hartenstein, Butler, Doncic, Rivers, Drummond, that type of lineup, but just throw in 1 or 2 of these types of guys. And I thought I was different enough. I was different enough. It's just that obviously the chalk players in those lineups, the chalk value, just bye-bye. Went bye-bye. So you lose. That's what happens. You take a shot. You make a strategy. I think the core point that I always make with these, we go over to, I mean, do I have this up still? No, it got rid of everything. Is that devise a strategy. So whether or not you're playing 1 lineup, 3 lineups, 10 lineups, 150 lineups, devise a strategy. Where am I getting leverage? What positions? How do I get different? And how different do I need to be for the size of the GPP? So it doesn't really matter. So it focus less on like, is this guy going to do well? And more of the fact of, okay, well, all these Houston Rockets guys, someone could do well, someone could do badly. And how do I fit them around? Do I want to play Austin Rivers with this guy? Do I want to play Daniel House with that guy? Do I want to take a shot on Hartenstein or Tucker? Do I want to do that? And what's the lineup construction look like for the tournament that I'm in? Okay. So going to today's slate, I guess. Unless you want to talk about yesterday's slate and some more. It was a disaster for a lot of people. Not disaster. That's what you're playing GPPs for. I mean, I take a shot at winning, and it just happens. Today, we don't have any news. Do we have any news? Tatum is doubtful. Okay, so but I mean that's kind of reflected. McRae is out, so I think that like boosts up maybe like a Troy Brown or an Ish Smith. Troy Brown and Ish Smith chalk doesn't sound appealing, but I mean that may happen today. But is there any other pressing news? I mean, I could go to the situation room. There's been premium. If you have premium, you get all this. I'm showing off premium stuff. Okay. So where's the situation room? So rotogrinders.com/premium, $40 a month. I mean, you get all of this. I mean, this is what I use. Where do we have the situation? Okay, there we go. The situation room. So we see, okay, Embiid may play today. Murray's out. Tatum's out. Rubio's questionable. Okay. That bumps up like a Booker, a Kobo, something like Oubre, something like that. None is questionable. Okay. Crowder's out. He's doubtful. McRae's out. Okay. That's the major stuff, I guess. That we didn't already know, like Barrett or Richardson. Jamal Murray we knew was out. That's already kind of reflected in the pricing. So at today's slate, I want to also show, since I'm mentioning premium features, just like Lineup HQ, this is how I built RotoGrinders.com. Explain and showcase a new metric that was just added, I think 2 or 3 days ago. It's a metric that I computed myself before it existed here. And Chris Gimino over RG, he's in charge. He's the projections master. He's part of the projections team, and he's the guy between all the ownership and all. His hamster wheels are always going, right? So he perfected what we call now as the smash percentage. Okay, the percentage of times this player is expected to exceed his salary implied GPP value threshold based on our projections. The fantasy point target is considered to be a smash, varies by site and salary range. Okay, so if you understand what projections are, you'll understand what smash percentage is. Okay, so smash percentage, like we have listed here, 35%, 35%, 31%, 29%, go all the way down here. These are for GPP target scores because you're looking to have a ceiling outcome. You're looking for over the expectation. So if you understand what projections are, like Troy Brown Jr., for instance, let's take Kyle Lowry. That's maybe even better. A real person, Troy Brown Jr., I don't know. Kyle Lowry, when the projections say 40.81, it doesn't mean that we're predicting, RotoGrinders is predicting Lowry to score 40 points tonight. How projections are made is that based on all of the relevant basketball data. So all the defensive efficiency, offensive efficiency, the total, the pace, the everything, home, away, who knows? Everything that's relevant to basketball, it's like a recipe. It's cooked in. It's put in a pot. Everything relevant and weighted appropriately, and then it's thrown into a blender, and it's blended like 500 times. It's like simulated. So the games are simulated 500 times, and then after each game is simulated, there are outcomes. So each player, it's like, okay, what happened in the game? Okay, this is what happened. And then they run it again. And then they blend it again. And then they blend it again. So 40 represents like the mid-range of all of those outcomes. So that would be the 50th percentile. So what this is saying is that if Lowry gets 35 minutes, half the time he'll put up about 40 points. Half the time he'll exceed it. Half the time he'll come underneath it. So it's not trying to predict what's going to happen today. It's just showing the median of 500 trials of playing today out. Like if we've just played today out 500 times, his mid-range would be 40 points. The floor would be the 20th percentile. That's 30. So like 80% of the time, he scores 30 points, at least 30 points. The ceiling is the 80th percentile. So that means 20% of the time, he scores at least 61 points. Now, the smash percentage, we're trying to calculate what's the score that we need that in relation to the slate, that in a vacuum that player needs to hit for him to be on like the winning GPP lineup. Like when we say the types of things like, oh, if you don't have this guy, you may not win. Okay, so our baseline at RotoGrinders is 5x plus 10. Lower salary guys need to put up a higher score to be relevant. A 3K player putting up, 6x is 18 points. It's just not enough raw points. They need to have a much higher. They need 7, 8, 9x. Higher price guys that are like 11K don't need to put up 8x. They don't need to put up 88 points to be relevant GPPs. They could put up 5 or 6x and be perfectly fine. So we go by 5x plus 10 as the baseline. So Lowry is 7,200. So what's 5x plus 10 of 7,200? So 5x of 72 would be 36. Plus 10 is 46. Okay? So his 50th percentile outcome is 40. So we're looking for the percentile where he gets 46 points. Well, that's the 65th percentile based on the simulation. Since it's the 65th percentile, that means he has a 35% chance of hitting it. And that's what this smash percentage says. So it's basing it off the floor ceiling projections and then showing for a GPP target score. And obviously, if you want to have a higher target score, obviously these percentages would go down. So it's all in relation to what you think you need. So you can do these calculations yourself. That's what I used to do. I used to take these and look and go, okay, I would go down here and go like Dante DiVincenzo. I think 8 can do, right? 21.5. I think I'm going to need, at least, right? 5x plus 10 of throw. I'm going lineup HQ when it comes with the projections. This is all for premium people, right? And these numbers will change as the day goes on. You change, the minutes change, the someone's in, someone's out. Someone's out for the other team, which changes the defensive efficiency. The projections will update. So, like, the projections will update, like, multiple times, not just 1, 2. It could be 15, 20 times throughout the day. So the projections by 6:30, 7 hours from now, are going to be different from here. So just going by this, what you currently see, I mean, it's a base. That's why we do these shows. It's like, this is the baseline. Let's see what happens throughout the day. Let's see if nothing changes. This is what it kind of looks like today. But I just wanted to highlight that for GPPs, you're using smash percentage. But obviously, the guys with the higher smash percentage are also probably going to be higher up, right? I mean, like, their medians are better than the other players also. So what you're really looking to do in GPP, just on a very micro level, is compare the smash percentage with the ownership. So we take a look here, and of people in their relative same range. So let's say we take a look at let's say the 8K level. So let's say we're looking at some guards, some guys. Well, I highlighted everything. Like guys like Beal, Van Vliet, Butler, Siakam, Holiday, like down in this over here. Because we see, like, Van Vliet right now has a 30% smash rate, but he's projected to be 3% owned. He doesn't have a high raw point. Like, he's not going to rate out well from a raw point perspective or a point per dollar perspective. But from a potential of getting 5x plus 10, which is about 51 points, right? About 51. He'll get the 30% of the time, but if he's going to be 3% owned, like that's a very good delta there. Okay. If you tell me Fred VanVleet's going to be 17% owned, not as good. You look at like Ayton, 27%, so only 8% owned. So I'm looking for a lot of these types of guys, right? But we take a look at like Devontae Graham, that is highlighted as a cash play by Chop, and I think he's a fine cash play. But we take a look here, 22% owned, 19% smash. His ceiling is lower, 49.15. His median is great. He comes out to 5.3x, but he has a significantly lower smash percentage, chance of hitting a 5x plus 10 score, GPP relevant score, than his ownership currently is projected at. So while I could see Devontae Graham being perfectly viable in cash games, this would be someone that in a vacuum that I would literally look at an X amount of my player pool in GPP and say, if he beats me, he beats me at 22% ownership. This is assuming that this is correct. We go later today. Devontae Graham could end up being 7% owned and his smash percentage be 32%. I mean, like as things change throughout the day, these can change. But as of right now, it stands out as, okay, decent cash play, not a good GPP play. Lonzo Ball, 18% smash percentage, but he only has 1% ownership now. So while Devontae Graham has a slightly higher smash percentage than Lonzo Ball, it's 7,400 against Cleveland. Like at 1% owned, yes, it's lower probability. I get it. But if he's only going to be 1% owned, like, I'll take that shot. I'm not saying to lock. I'm not saying to put him in 60% of my lineups. But this, even though his point per dollar is low, his smash percentage compared to his ownership is a big enough delta that maybe I take a look at it. Doesn't mean I do, but this is what I'm looking at throughout the course of a day. You could do this under premium. This is what you should be thinking at least. Let's say you don't have premium. Let's say, I don't know, you're cheap. I think it pays for itself. $40 a month. If you're playing every day in NBA, and even if you're playing $20, $30 a day in NBA, I think RotoGrinders Premium pays for itself by the end of the month for $40 a month. But you can take a look at it. Get the badge promo. If you come up high in a GP, maybe you get a free month or something. But this is how you should be thinking. Even if you don't have like the figures, even if you don't make your own projections, let's say you have no projection source. Let's say you don't do the math. You should be thinking in terms of who has a higher probability of going off than their ownership. And a lot of people go, oh, bad matchup, he can't do well. And then they do well. They do well less of the time, but not terms. So going back to the chat, I just want to highlight that. I think it's very important because people will ask me, just questions about GPPs. How do you think process-wise, and not like who am I choosing? Like I wouldn't have known. I'm looking at this like with Devontae Graham, going, oh well, based on our projections, that doesn't seem like a great GPP play. Like I'm not. All of the basketball information is in the projections, so like I don't have to look at like anything else other than okay, based on all the relevant basketball data. Like Graham stands out as a cash play and not a great GPP play currently. Okay. Let's take a look through YouTube chat. Thanks for participating. The more that you participate, the more questions I can answer, the more help I can be, the more stuff that can get done. I hope you enjoyed the show, even with me, Tuttle, Kyle, Britt. I think Britt's on later this week. Travis, I think Travis is on tomorrow. I know he was supposed to be on Friday, and then he was supposed to be on Monday. Supposed to be on tomorrow, so maybe he's on tomorrow. You'll have to deal with him. PJ Tucker is always less than 5% to smash, no matter what it says. Something to keep in mind. Yeah, well, the thing that the difference is that like I could, for instance, you could do this in lineup HQ. Imagine doing this. I'm going to take off the names. Okay, hide all. Oh no, show all. Where are we going? Take off the names. How do I get rid of that? Okay. Now, if we just did this, now we don't have any bias. Look, no names. We got no names there. So now I could just go by point per dollar and go, wow, I got a $4,500 small forward that, a little RGV value. Well, looks like if I sort by RGV, this $7,200 point guard for Toronto seems like a pretty good cash play, a pretty good GPP play. Oh, but this 25%, look, 12.1 power forward has a 25% smash rate at 11% ownership. This very similarly priced point guard has a 32% smash rate at 2% less ownership. Who's the better play between the two? Well, based on this, and look, ceiling is higher. This guy's ceiling is 77. This guy's ceiling is 88. So it's like, obviously, I'm playing this guy. Who is that? Obviously, we know that's Luka and this is Giannis. But I mean, like, imagine doing that for the whole pool. Imagine going through and going, okay, let's compare people together. And then you just take the bias out of it, right? So you don't think in terms of, oh, PJ Tucker sucks. It's like, yeah, you may be right. But we see PJ Tucker have 35, 40-point games. We do. We also see him have 7-point games. So buyer beware. Just Really Good says 1 minus smash would inherently be leverage. Yeah, leverage is all really dependent on like the lineup in total. So like if you have high, like Lowry is currently projects high ownership, high smash rate, high point per dollar, he's going to be owned. But like if you're playing like a lot of longer shots, like it's still probably plus EV to have Lowry because he's still a high percentage play, right? It's just that compared to the ownership, it's like even enough. He's someone that you throw in because he is a high percentage play into lineups that are more contrarian. So it's not the type of thing where it's like, I can't play any of them now. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. You could play plenty of them. You could look through and go, if I'm going to play Luka, like Luka comes in at a better value than Giannis. But also, like, they're both 12K. And do we have value enough to make those builds? Are you going to find $3,900 players? Are you going to find 3K players in order to make the whole build have a ceiling, right? Have a high smash percentage? You may not be able to, right? So it may not be the type of thing where, like, I'm just going to jam Luka in based on this. It's like, well, you need to find cheaper players, right? You need to have a lot of Troy Brown in order to do it. Do you want that? Maybe you do. But that's why construction matters. Going through chat. Jonathan Burke says no names is great for golf because I have so many biases there that I'm going to try it in NBA as well. Yeah, well, golf, right? I used to play DFS PGA. I used to. But the tilt is ridiculous, right? Keegan Bradley, right? Goes full Keegan, he's leading, and then he get miscut, right? I mean, that's why you take the Luke List, typically it's the bad putters, right? Typically that's who you take it off, right? Take off the names and go, $7,800 whatever, and then you put it in, and then you go, I can't believe I rostered that guy for $7,800. Well, if he shows up good in your models, then that's what you should be playing. But I ran 300 lineups already. I don't think the projections changed, right? Okay. And I just want to show you, like when it comes to, because I wanted to highlight, because we have an article. This is a premium article. It explains the projections and the advanced stats. So when you think, visualize that the projection that you see is right here. Like, these are all the outcomes. Remember, they put it in a blender 500 times, 2,000 times, 1,000,000 times. You play the slate over and over again. And then you see what the outcomes are. So that median, that number that you see is right over there. What you need to smash is over here, right? So how often does this happen? The floor is over here. These are outliers. These are 90th percentile, 95th percentile results. A lot of the outcomes are going to come within the 68% total range. So you're looking floor over here, ceiling over there. So how often does this happen in comparison to their salary? So someone that has a lower salary for their value, their smash value, their smash percentage will be closer to here. Someone that's very overpriced, let's say Troy Brown Jr. was 9,000 today, okay, for no apparent reason. So in order to hit 5x plus 10, that's like 55 points. Like, his smash percentage would be like 6%, if that, but maybe even lower. So that's how that's calculated. Alex G asked Blender, it's your buddy, New York Jets. Okay, hey, is there a ratio of smash percentage, ownership percentages that you like to look for to identify leverage plays for GPPs? I don't necessarily think a ratio. I just try to look comparatively as much as I can. Because a lot of times you'll find, like, I'll go back to here, like if you sort it by smash percentage, a lot of times you'll find that the smash percentage is over the ownership. But I'm just looking at, like, the difference between here. For instance, a 30% owned, 30% Van Vliet right here, 30 to 3. So that's like a 10 to 1 ratio. So that's like similar to like playing like a I don't think there is a similarly owned guy that has that type of rate. That's what I'm looking at. So like Beal has a 23% smash rate. Van Vliet has a 30% smash rate, but Beal is higher owned. So like if I had to compare Beal and Van Vliet, based on our projections, Van Vliet would be the better play in GPP. Right? So I'm trying to look comparatively. Look at Jimmy Butler. 8,100, 30% smash rate. 13% owned. Current projection. So what's the difference, Butler, other than he fills a small forward spot, between Van Vliet for 100 more and Butler? So let's say we take Van Vliet and Butler off just to look at them together. We go, look, Butler has a higher median. Okay? He's a 5.1x median. So he's the safer play. Right? He's a 2.5 point higher median. And I mean, obviously he's the same. It's Jimmy Butler. But the smash rate is going to be the smash is the same. If we're going by 5x plus 10, I mean, we're going by about 50 points, right? So what percentage of the time do both of these players hit 50 points? About the same amount of time. In GPP, that's all you care about. If you only got these medians in GPP, you probably aren't going to win first place in a large field. This is large field GPP. Maybe depending on the construction, maybe you do win with a median like this, but you're really looking for the ceiling outcome. So if they both have the same probability to hit 50 points as each other, why is one 13% and one 3%? Van Vliet would be the better play based on these numbers that they're currently at 11:44 Eastern time. They can change. So just don't go purely by this now. That's why getting premium, rotogrinders.com/premium. As time goes on, numbers are tweaked, everything throughout the course of the day. These get more and more accurate. And the RotoGrinders projections have been great. The team, Andy, Jamino, Noto, SBK, Tuttle, the NBA projections have been great this year. But that's the mindset that you should be thinking of. Like, I'm not thinking of like, oh, well, Van Vliet's against Atlanta and they're against Boston. It's already in the, like, you have to figure that. Why does Van Vliet probably have a higher ceiling than Butler based on the numbers? Well, Van Vliet, I mean, like the matchup against the Hawks is probably like the best matchup, right? The matchup against the Celtics is probably not a good matchup for ceiling. Butler plays enough minutes that his floor is there, right? His median is there. But Toronto putting up 100 and the 232 total, the 16 difference in total means that Van Vliet, while having a lower median, has a higher ceiling. So if you just went by point per dollar and optimized and made 100 lineups, you probably wouldn't get much Fred Van Vliet if you just went by median projection. But looking at this and looking at the difference between ceiling, percentage of time of hitting ceiling, and the ownership, getting 10% Fred Van Vliet in your lineups, get there. Maybe you want to play more because of that. Based on the current numbers, would be a better play. Quote, better play in GPP. So that's why not predicting that, like you saw there, I'm not predicting the outcome. I'm just saying that based on the numbers, Van Vliet is is as likely to hit the same score as Butler, but with 4 times less ownership. So in a vacuum, if you had to choose between the two, the better play would be Fred Van Vliet, even if you think Jimmy Butler is going to do well. Oh, they just updated this man. Oh, hopefully. They updated. Did Fred Van Vliet go down? Did none of that matter anymore? What happened now? Oh, now they really updated it. Oh, they totally updated it now. Oh, Fred Van Vliet's down to 14%. Okay, so never mind. So what's Butler at now? 21%. So like let's do the same thing again. See, this is why it's so important. This is why it's so important that you can't just do stuff early in the day and just call it a day. Things change. We do this and may turn out that it's horrible, right? Oh, now, okay. Well, I mean, Fred Van Vliet's probably lower owned, right? Comparatively, half, 2/3 less smash and 3% load. Okay, but now obviously the situation has changed. 14% versus 21%. Like let's add some more people there. Have a Bradley Beal in the same range. Devontae Graham. What does he look like? Who else do we have? Kyle Lowry. D'Angelo Russell. Okay. So we take a look at here, smash percentage wise, or just salary wise, between these guys. See, now this much different. I mean, Beal's only going to be 6% owned because of, people, I'm worried about the blowout. Bradley Beal has like a twice as high smash percentage as Fred Van Vliet now. Higher than Butler at less ownership. So like take a look. Let's get Van Vliet out of here. Okay? So let's take a look at these guys. Similar range. These three players. Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, and D'Angelo Russell. Okay? So we're looking for GPPs. Remember, we're talking GPPs in a vacuum. They're close enough in salary. I know 7,600. So 5x plus 10 of 7,600 is around 48 points. Okay? These are going to be closer to like 50, right? 50, 52. So D'Angelo Russell has a 31% chance of smashing, but he's 21% owned. Bradley Beal, for a little bit more, for 50 points, has only 4% less chance of smashing at 6% owned. So I still would say that in GPP, in a vacuum, if you were to play one of these players, I think Beal would be the better GPP play with a higher ceiling, a close enough smash percentage, and much less owned. Like 3.5 times less owned between these three players. But what about the blow? Well, what happens if it doesn't blow out? Maybe that's the reason why he's only going to be 6% owned. So thinking in that mindset, even if you don't have these numbers, think in that mindset. But as you see, like once they updated projections, Fred VanVleet went from like, oh, to, and who knows, maybe it goes back as they change projections throughout the day. So that's why you get RotoGrinders Premium. RotoGrinders.com/premium. And as always, let's see how the coffee is. Ugh, lukewarm coffee. That means you got to hit the thumbs up button. Make it up to me, but the horrible lukewarm coffee. Your problem is, when do you do this? You have 8 roster spots to fill because you could play both of you. Yeah, you can play both. But I'm saying I'm going through players very similarly to that. I'm looking at RG. I'm looking at all these. I'm looking at Smash for GPP builds. So let's say I go through. Let's say that Atlanta-Toronto game. I'm looking at, and I go, okay, Trae Young is an obvious. Like I go by RGV, and like we take a look at smash percentage. Like it turns out, like, well, Jeff Teague. I don't know why he's coming in at 25% smash here, but he has a very low raw point total ceiling at 4,100. But let's say I want to play Trae Young. I look here. I go Collins. Like Collins is coming in as like a 7% smash rate at 8,200. And he's one of like the main guys. He's only going to be 2% owned, but maybe I play Trae there. But then I go to Toronto and I see a lot higher percentages based on their salaries. So I see Lowry, I see Siakam, I see Gasol, I see Ibaka. I see VanVleet, but he's now down to 14%. So looking at these, I go, well, if I don't play Lowry, maybe I should play Siakam. He is a lower smash percentage, you're right, but he's also half his own. So maybe I'm going to play Pascal Siakam instead of a chalkier Lowry. And then if I play Siakam instead of a chalky Lowry, I'm going to want to look at point guards that are relatively in the same position as him. So Lowry at 33%, I take a look down and I go, okay, who's somewhere close? If I'm going to play Siakam in this lineup and not Lowry, well, maybe I look down and I go, Terry Rozier, 12% owned, 25% smash. Will Barton, 14% owned, 25% smash. Drew Holiday, 8%. I'm looking at those. I'm getting my leverage that way, building my lineups that way. But as you see, like I'm just going by based on what the projections are, range. I trust the team. I trust Jamino. I trust SB. That's what all, right? They're putting all of their research into numbers. You could read the grind down, and it's essentially all of the grind down, all of the CBR, all of the expert survey. To me, I just think in numbers. So I look at the numbers. All of that is in the numbers. It's the same thing. So Blender from Trey N. When do you decide to combine one of these guys in a stack? What's your determining factor? It just really, that's lineup construction. Really. Like if I need it, probably, for instance, if I were to play Fred VanVleet, wherever he is, like a lower owned guy with like a low probability, I probably need him to like get like 38. And I need the game to go wacko. So I'm more likely to play a Trae Young in a lineup with those types of guys. So guys that I like need that are lower probability, that especially higher owned guys. So we take a look at by salary. Like if I'm going to play Ben Simmons today at 10K at 3% owned, I'm probably going to play D'Angelo Russell on the other side. Like that's how I decide, because it's like I think he's overpriced and his smash percentage relates to that. His 80th percentile outcome is his smash. I mean, like he needs to really, really get there. It may be worth it at 3%, but for him to get there, I'm assuming a bonkers game close to the end, over the total. So if that happens, who on the other side gets there? That's D'Angelo Russell, probably. Someone on the other side, something like that, something correlative to that. I'm less inclined to I'm less inclined to if I'm playing Lowry, I don't need to play Trae Young on the other side. Like I don't need as much. Their success rate is higher. So I don't feel the need. Lowry could get to his smash percentage at 34 minutes in a blowout, even. So I don't care. Ryan Belonja asks, how much does it really matter on an 8-game slate with a little chalk, though? You're going to be different already. No need to reach. Well, yeah. Well, I'd say you combine everything together. I'm just pointing out players in a vacuum. But as I always say in the Discord, everything depends on the lineup and the contest that you're in. So, for instance, if I fade Lowry and play Siakam instead, or I play Van Vliet at 3% owned, let's say I play Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell. Let's just say, for instance. Okay? I want to get leverage. I'm playing Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell, and Fred Van Vliet. Let's just for argument's sake. Those 3 players. You get so much leverage by just playing those 3 players. The other 5 slots, play the best plays. Just play the chalk. You have enough leverage. You're good. So that's why, I'm starting not from the point of what chalk do I play, then how do I get leverage? I'm starting with how do I get leverage, and then once I get enough, jam in the best plays. Just give me the best plays, right? I got enough for the contest that I'm in. You're playing a high stakes 300-man, 400-man contest. I don't think you need to play Ben Simmons and Fred Van Vliet in a lineup together. One of them would be enough. I mean, one of them, you don't even need to play either of them. But if you wanted to, I don't think it's a matter of does it really matter on an 8-game slate. It's just the approach first, and then once I find enough leverage for the contest that I'm in, how does everything else fit in a lineup construction together? So if you need a point guard spot for a chalk Lowry, if you need let's sort of present ownership. If Marcus Smart, if Draymond Green, if Devontae Graham, if Ish Smith and Troy Brown, those I'm going to need guard spots. So if I'm going to take a highly leveraged position, maybe I need to leave a point guard spot open so I could jam in the best plays there. Or you could just choose to take leverage at point guard and then fade a Lowry, one or the other. I think that answers the question. I think that makes sense. I'm just talking about thinking in the opposite direction that a lot of people do for GPPs, right? Thinking a lot of people go, okay, what chalk do I play? And then how do I get different? And I think in terms of how do I get different? And then once I get different enough, just how do I get the chalk in? And that's all comes down to lineup construction. So closing the show, I hope people got stuff out of this. I mean, I explained the projections. I think that's pretty good. Leverage, the new feature, smash percentage. You don't have to do those calculations anymore. This saves me so much time because I used to do it. So you can get that rotogrinders.com/premium, $40 a month. I think it's worth it. You get all the lineup HQ, build your lineups, you get everything. Grind down, you get all the premium content you want. So do that. And this will change throughout look. It changed during the show. I'm literally talking about, wow, is Fred Van Vliet going to be? And then he turns out to be, okay, I guess he's not going to smash, right? In the span of this show. So by 4:30, this could all change. But the assessment, the way that I went through it, is exactly what I do. So at 4:30, I'm going through doing that same thing. At 6, when someone's out, this thing changes, all the projections change, going through that same process, that same type of mindset, thinking for large field GPPs, that is exactly what I do. So even if you're using a different projection source, if you're making your own projections, that's how you should be thinking. Larry Nichols asks at the end, of course, thoughts on Kemba? I don't know. Tatum's out. I mean, I don't think he projected. Do we have Tatum out? Yeah. Kemba. Okay. Not horrible. But I wouldn't consider him to be a core play. I think I'd still rather play Lowry against the Hawks. But you could play him. I think with Tatum out, I think Celtics are in play, but on DraftKings, I don't think they're necessarily priced at a discount. I think they're fine. So thank you to Devin, as always, for producing the show, so I don't have to look at a million different things. Thanks for tuning in the YouTube chat. I believe Travis is going to be here tomorrow. I think. He's been switching out with other people. I don't know. Is the construction at his house? Is he traveling the world? Is he nomadic? I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's happening in wherever, New York, New Jersey, wherever he is. So you're gonna get him tomorrow, and then you'll see me back on Thursday on the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders.com.